What's up, YouTube? Back with another car talk. I'm gonna shut off this sound here so you guys can hear me. Back with another car talk here. Today I kind of want to talk about the net positives of social media real quick. I was just having a podcast with Pedro, forgot how to say his last name, and Dr. Tyler Pansner, and they're two very, very deep guys that have just a wealth of information, and we're kind of talking about how to get that wealth of information out there on social media, especially in like the attention span age of like 11 seconds is the average view on a Instagram reel. 11 seconds, that's all you got a person for. So how can you do good? How can you change the world for good for 11 seconds? And that's where, sorry, I'm a little, can you see my breath? It's fucking cold in here. Holy shit. It's like 0 degrees outside here in Minnesota with like a -30 wind chill. Freezing. Anyways, how can you get the positives of social media when you only have somebody for like 11 seconds? And obviously YouTube, that's a great form, and we talked about that, doing long form content. But how do you use social media in the sense of how do you meet people where they're at on Instagram and TikTok when you only have that short amount of time? And one of the things that I kind of mentioned, and I really believe is true, is you using that 11 seconds to funnel people in to the deeper content. And this is something that I feel like so many people mess up on social media, is like they just get such a bad taste in their mouth of what social media can be, because a lot of people use those 11 seconds to sell you shit, to sell you poison, to just sell you total crap, because they don't have any depth behind themselves or depth behind their products. They can't do long form content because there's nothing long form within them. It's literally just 11 seconds. That's how their brain works. It's all it is. They've never actually done deep dives. And one of the things that people struggle with is they just swear off social media then. So then the only thing on social media that these kids are being consumed by is the people that are taking advantage of those 11 seconds in the negative way. So they're posting trash content, they're doing all these things, and they have no information behind it. So these kids are getting sold crap over and over again. And this is where you have to meet people where they're at, and you have to beat people by playing the game. You don't get just to swear off the game and everything sucks, all this stuff is ruined, whatever. No, you don't get to do that. Like, that's like quitting a game because you're not good enough at the game. You have to learn the game. You have to learn it and understand how to play the game, and that is how you do social media. You understand, and this is how I do it. I have a message that I feel like is important to say. I have facts that I feel like are important to share. I have things that I feel are of value to the world. I feel like I have studied a long time. I feel like I have read a lot of books, and it's not like an ego thing. It's just like everybody has that message within them. And once you understand that, you can play social media as the game it is. It's like, I'm going to bring people into the top of my funnel. I'm going to get them to tease and understand just a little bit of my message, and then they can come to my YouTube page, and we can cover really deep conversations in 15 minutes videos, and then we can bring them to the podcast. But if you never get them, you never funnel them in with a meme, you never funnel them in with funny content, you never funnel them in with short form content, you never get them to the YouTube page. Nobody just starts and is like, oh, this is the person that I'm going to listen to forever. This is the person that knows everything. Like, and so many people on social media, they put in such deep content, and the content is good and it's deep, but it's like you're never bringing in somebody new to that. Because when I go to your page or something pops up on my Explore feed, and this is how you check yourself too, because everybody swears it off, and then you look at your own habits on the Explore feed. Something that is a minute 30 on Instagram, you're not watching. I know you're not watching. I'm not watching it. And I feel like I love reading books. I love deep form content, but on Instagram, it's not what I'm there for, okay? But you get me with a 10-second clip. Softball hitting tips are a really big one. You post a 10-second clip of a cool hot softball hitting tip. I go to your page, I'm like, oh, there's a lot of really good stuff here. Now I can go to your YouTube page or your podcast or even your product, and I'm gonna consume that. I'm gonna dive a little bit deeper into that content. But if you tried to post like a 2-minute video on Instagram and tried to like be deep on Instagram, I'm just swiping past your page, and I would have never got to see that. And that's really the main message. Sorry, I'm struggling to think here because my fingers are fucking freezing because it's freezing in this car. I should have warmed up before. This is terrible planning. I'm like kind of keep from shivering when I talk. But I think that's the main point of this talk is, if you feel like you have a message that is worth spreading to the world, you got to meet people where they're at in this 15-second form of content. Not to shorten people's attention span, not to make everything worse in the world, but to just funnel them into something deeper, to get them into some sort of deep philosophy that you believe in and that you feel like is important to share. And the last thing that I'll just share with here before we end today's video is when I was at the MAPS conference, the psychedelic conference, one of the really, really cool things, and I know I've shared this a ton for the podcast listeners, but I still think it's a really important thing because it got me to get over myself in this sense, is the psychedelic conference was all about legitimizing psychedelics, like making them legit, not going back to the 70s where it was all hippies and everything was illegal and people were just doing whatever the fuck they were doing with psychedelics, but trying to make it a little bit more legit so we can have the benefits of psychedelics without them getting banned again, okay? So they brought in all these neuroscientists, the smartest people in the world, some of these legislative people that are just clearing up some of these how to make it legal, that type of thing, all these bigwigs people. And then at lunchtime they brought in these comedians, like Key and Peele comedians, and they talked about, like, why would you bring on these comedians if your whole point is to make this as official as possible? And one of the things they mentioned was, you are never going to red pill somebody completely based off facts, right? And you just look at your life. Facts have never red pilled you. I mean, a very big recent situation in our nation showed us that facts are not going to red pill us. Fear red pills us. Stories red pill us. Things like that red pill us. Comedy and humor is one of the biggest aspects that do that for us, okay? So if you have somebody that thinks psychedelics kill everybody, make everybody a psychopath, drive everybody insane, are super fearful of it, you are never with facts going to bring them over into psychedelics should be legal because of the positive benefits. However, you can make them laugh at themselves, or you can make them laugh at hippies. You can make them laugh at mushrooms and trips through comedy. And from there, you can lower their defenses, bring them into a little bit more of a middle ground, and then share the facts. And then bring them over into, okay, maybe we should legalize this. And that's really the true process of funneling somebody into changing their mind. You're never gonna do that by force. You're never gonna do that by facts. You do that through stories, through the emotional capacities of a human being, by making them laugh. And I really believe that's what social media can be used for. The shorter form social medias can be used for, to drive them into the longer form content that you want to push. I'm going to hang this up because my fingers are freezing. Hopefully the audio on this was good. Thank you guys for listening. Keep chopping wood. Boom.